Corrosion. Corrosion, which literally means gnaw away, is degradation of a metal by its environment. And it has been defined as the deterioration of a material, usually a metal, because of its reaction with the environment, and which requires the presence of an anode, a cathode, an electrolyte, and an electrical circuit. So basically what happens in corrosion is that we know that most of the metals in their natural state, they exist in the form of their oxides. We say ores, right? And then we refine these metals from their ores to create pure metals or alloys, so that they should become a useful structural material. And corrosion is a natural process and is a result of natural tendency of metals to revert back to their more stable components, that is their oxides, or uh, in nature, because they are existing as ores, so they want to get converted into their oxides from which they have been refined. So that is why corrosion is going to take place, and it is a natural phenomenon. Uh, we know that in case of refining process, what we do is that metal ore, which is a thermodynamically stable state, we do refining with providing energy to the system, and which will create pure metals through refining. But these pure metals, they will be thermodynamically unstable in comparison to their ores. So with passage of times, these metals, they undergo corrosion to produce corroded metals, because and these corroded metals, they are thermodynamically more stable state than the pure metal. So that is why corrosion is a natural phenomena which takes place in various types of metals. And it can be very rapid in highly corrosive environment, or it may take thousands of years in a slightly corrosive environment. So how much time a metal will take to get converted into a corroded metal will depend upon the environment in which the corrosion reaction will take place, and it will also depend upon what type of metal it is. Then economic impact of the corrosion. Uh, Recently in 2019, in India, the it has been said that corrosion and poor maintenance, they were the major cause of toxic gas leak in Union Carbide pesticide plant in Bhopal, which we all know as a Bhopal gas tragedy. And because of this, corrosion has a huge economic and environmental impact on virtually all facets of world infrastructure, from highways, bridges, buildings, to oil and gas, chemical processing, water and wastewater systems. And India loses about 4.2% of its GDP only due to corrosion means. So such is the high economic impact of corrosion is there on the Indian economy. And similarly, globally also, it has been estimated that up to 5% of the world GDP is being lost due to corrosion. Then the causes of corrosion, uh, mainly these three types of corrosion they take place. One is electrochemical corrosion, which we also call it as wet corrosion. Then chemical corrosion, which is known as dry corrosion also. And then third category is acidic corrosion. In case of electrochemical corrosion, it is similar to the phenomenon which takes place when a carbon zinc dry cell generates a direct current. Basically, in case of electrochemical corrosion, there must be present an anode, that is negative electrode, a cathode, that is positive electrode, and an electrolyte, which is environment in our case, and then a circuit should connect the anode and the cathode, and only then the corrosion will take place. So basically what happens is that metal uh, metal atom at the surface, due to the presence of moisture, this will undergo oxidation to give us metal ions and electrons. And these electrons which are produced on the surface of the metal, they will be removed by the depolarizer. Depolarizer means the species which can accept electrons, and because of the acceptance of electrons by the depolarizer, the corrosion will be caused. So main depolarizers, they are oxygen and acid. So what happens is these electrons which have been formed, they interact either with oxygen, and moisture is already present in the environment. So moisture plus oxygen and these two electrons, this will produce hydroxide ions. So the surface will become alkaline. Or in the presence of acid, these electrons will react and hydrogen gas will be produced, and reaction will be reversible. That means metal will be converted into metal ions. So corrosion will take place. Then in case of more noble cations, the electrons, they will be taken up by those more noble metals, and a surface of metallic surface can be restored also. Now the chemistry of electrochemical reaction is, as I have told you, that there must be a circuit of electrochemical cell which must be present, only then electrochemical corrosion can take place, and the dissolution of the metal will occur at the anode, whereas corrosion current enters the electrolyte and flow to the cathode. So for example, if we take the case of iron, and when iron is exposed to corrosive water or aerated, the anodic reaction will be that iron metal will change into ferrous 2 plus ions, and 2 electrons they will be produced. And then at cathode, in the presence of oxygen and water, these will be converted into hydroxide ions. So because there can not be any gain or lose of electrons, the 2 atoms of iron must dissolve to provide 4 electrons required at the cathode. So 2 atoms of iron metal, they will produce 2 ferrous ions and 4 electrons, and then these 4 electrons at cathode will produce 4 hydroxide ions. Then this will be the product of the reaction at anode and cathode. Ferrous ions and hydroxide ions, they are formed, and these ferrous ions, they are generally oxidized to ferric ions, and they will combine with hydroxide ion to form a corrosion product that is called as rust, having this formula: Fe2O3 XH2O. This is rust, or FeOOH is rust. Similarly, zinc will also give, these are, rust is the product of oxidation of iron metal. Similarly, zinc also undergoes corrosion to give us zinc hydroxide as the product of corrosion. Then the electrochemical corrosion can also take place in environment because of the dissimilar soils. It will create an environment that will enhance corrosion. So say this is the iron pipe which is present in the soil, and because of the different nature of soil A and soil B, so this is having zero point 0.4 volt current, this is having voltage 0.6. So there is a difference in the behavior of these soils, and because of that this part of the pipe will act as a cathode and this part will act as anode, and an electrochemical cell will be created in this. And because of the difference in the nature of these soils, it will become a candidate for electrochemical corrosion. So that is why this pipe will be corroded, because of the difference in activity of these two soils. Then is chemical corrosion or dry corrosion. Uh, the dry corrosion is mainly caused due to the direct reaction of metal surfaces with atmospheric gases present in the environment. The most common gases which interact in chemical corrosion, they are oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen, chlorine, and other halogen gases. And this chemical corrosion is of three types: oxidative chemical corrosion, corrosion by other gases, and liquid metal corrosion. Now, oxidative chemical corrosion is caused by direct reaction of atmospheric oxygen with the metals, generally in the absence of moisture. So in case of oxidative chemical corrosion, there are no water vapors present, and that is why this is called as a dry corrosion also. So, and the metals which generally undergo this type of chemical corrosion, alkali metals, alkaline earth metals, so these are quickly oxidized even at low temperatures, whereas all other metals except gold, silver and platinum, they are oxidized at high temperature. So here what happens is, first on the surface of the metal is oxidized, and this will produce electrons and metal ions, and these electrons, they will interact with the atmospheric oxygen, and a oxide ion that will be formed, and those oxide ions, they will react with metal ions to give a layer of metal oxide at the surface of the metal, and hence the corrosion of the metal will take place. So at the surface there will be formation of a layer of metal oxide. This will lead to a corroded metal. Then when entire surface of the metal is covered with metal oxide, the further oxidation is restricted. So that means if the metal oxide layer is a stable one, then further corrosion will be restricted when whole of the surface of the metal is covered with the metal oxide. Uh, the oxidation of remaining metal is possible only if the metal ions, they diffuse out on the surface of the metal, or atmospheric oxygen diffuse inside the metal. Diffusion of metal ions towards the surface is much faster as compared to diffusion of the oxygen inside the metal, because of smaller size and higher mobility of metal ions as compared to oxygen. So it is evident the extent of oxidation reaction is dependent on the type of metal oxide layer which has been formed on the surface of metal. So it has been seen that generally there are four types of layers of the oxides which are generally formed on the surface of the metal. So the first category of the type of oxide layer which is formed may be a stable layer. A stable layer of metal oxide means that this layer will be impermeable, coating on the surface of the metal, and which restrain the penetration of atmospheric oxygen into the metal. So that means once the metal oxide layer has been formed on the surface of the metal, no penetration of the atmospheric oxygen can take place inside the metal, and the corrosion will stop at that stage. And the metals where commonly this type of layer formation takes place is aluminium, lead, copper, and stainless. So the formation of stable coating on the surface of the metal, as I have told you, the further oxidation or further corrosion is prevented. Then second type is unstable oxide layers formed on the surface of the metal. In this type of layer formation, the oxide layer formed will decay to give metal and oxygen. So here what happens is this metal oxide layer which has been formed, with passage of time it changes into metal ions and oxide ions again, and then metal is formed and oxygen goes back, and this is the metal oxide layer which has been formed, and this decays with time, and then again pure metal is generated back. And here the corrosion is a reversible process in these cases, in cases where the layer formed is an unstable layer. Then third is where the layer is a volatile layer. So in this type of oxide layer formation, after some time the layer volatilizes as soon as it is formed. So that means once this has been volatilized, then a fresh surface of the metal will be exposed to further corrosion. So formation of volatile layer of metal oxide causes rapid and continuous corrosion till whole of the metal is corroded. So this is a very severe type of corrosion where whole of the metal is ultimately corroded. So example is in case of molybdenum oxide formation, this layer is formed in case of molybdenum metal. So first metal will react with atmospheric oxygen and a volatile metal oxide, it goes into the atmosphere, and another surface of the metal is exposed to further corrosion, and ultimately whole of the metal will be corroded and it will be destroyed. Then fourth category is porous layer formation. The oxide layer formed, they have pores through which atmospheric oxygen can pass through into the metal, penetrate through the surface of the metal, and corrosion then again continues till the whole metal is converted into metal oxide. So here first the pure metal, it interacts with atmospheric oxygen and porous metal oxide layer is formed, and then this goes in deep into the metal, inside the metal, and the quantity of metal oxide formation goes on increasing, and ultimately whole of the metal is converted into metal oxide, and this is also a severe type of corrosion. The next is Pilling-Bedworth rule. So as we have seen that there are four types of oxide layer formations, and these four types, they can be categorized into protective or non-protective oxide layer formation in case of metals, and this is governed by a rule known as Pilling-Bedworth rule. So according to this rule, if volume of the oxide is equal to or greater than volume of the metal from which it is formed, the oxide layer is non-porous and therefore protective in nature. So when it is non-porous, that means oxygen, atmospheric oxygen cannot penetrate through the surface of the metal. So this will not lead to further corrosion. Therefore, this layer is protective in nature, and such layer is found in case of oxides of copper, indium, aluminium, nickel, and chromium. Similarly, if the volume of the oxide is less than the volume of the metal from which it is formed, then the oxide layer is porous and it will be non-protective in nature. So that means the oxide layer formed will be porous, and atmospheric oxygen will get into the metal inside, and the volume of the oxide layer will go on increasing. Ultimately whole of the metal is destroyed, and such type of layer formation is taking place in case of alkali metals and alkaline earth metals. So this rule is known as Pilling Bedworth rule. Then corrosion by other metals. This type of corrosion is caused by gases other than oxygen, like carbon dioxide, H2S, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen, chlorine, and other halogens. So all these gases, they can also cause corrosion to the metals. But the extent of corrosion depends on the how much there is a affinity between the gas and the metal, and what type of film is formed on the surface of the metal, whether this is a protective film or this is a non-protective film, whether this is a porous film or this is a non-porous film. Then in these types of corrosions, the extent of corrosion decreases if the layer formed is protective or non-porous. So example is attack of chlorine gas on silver metal. This forms a non-porous layer of silver chloride, and this layer of silver chloride is a protective layer, non-porous layer, and it protects further corrosion of the silver metal. And then corrosion continue if the layer formed is non-porous, non-protective, or porous. Then attack of chlorine gas on tin metal is an example of this type of corrosion. So here what happens is the metal on reaction with the chlorine gas forms SnCl4, which is a volatile substance. So it goes into atmosphere and produces a fresh surface on the metal of the tin, and the corrosion continues till whole of the metal is destroyed by corrosion. Then is liquid metal corrosion. Liquid metal corrosion is caused due to chemical reaction of solid metal with a flowing liquid metal at a very high temperatures. So such type of corrosion is caused by these flowing liquid metals, and it always takes place at high temperature. And the example is such type of corrosion takes place in case of nuclear power production. So these are the factors which affect the liquid metal corrosion: temperature, temperature gradient, then cyclic temperature fluctuation, then surface area to volume ratio between the solid metal and the flowing liquid metal, that will also matter. Then chemical purity of the liquid metal which interacts with the solid metal. Then flow velocity, surface conditioning, then other material in contact with the same liquid metal, that also matters. Then condition of the container material, that is what kind of container material is there. So all these factors, they will determine that how what will be the extent of liquid metal corrosion. Then is acidic corrosion. This is applicable to atmospheric rusting of iron, and corrosion or rusting of iron takes place due to its reaction with oxygen, carbon dioxide and moisture present in the atmosphere. And this rusting of iron is called as acidic corrosion, and following chemical reactions they take place. So first the iron metal interacts with oxygen present in the atmosphere, carbon dioxide and moisture present in the atmosphere, and this will be converted into ferrous bicarbonate, and this will be further oxidized to give us hydroxycarbonate, and this will hydrolyze to give us ferric hydroxide and carbon dioxide, and this will lead to the formation of rust in the metals, and this is called as acidic corrosion. So you can see over here, due to acidic corrosion, these are the iron hydroxide type rust that is formed on the surface of the metal. Then forms of corrosion. There are many types of corrosion. Broadly, this can be classified as these few types: general corrosion, localized corrosion, metallurgically influenced corrosion, mechanically assisted corrosion, and environmentally induced cracking. And out of all these, uh, few types of corrosions, they are very severe. For example, galvanic corrosion is very important. Then liquid metal corrosion, which we have discussed, is very important. Then pittig corrosion, service corrosion, these are also very important in mechanical industries. Then cavitation and water drop impingement, this is very important. Stress cracking is very important. uh, this is a very severe kind of corrosion. So we will discuss all these types of corrosions one by one. First is galvanic corrosion. This is the most common type of corrosion, and this is also known as bimetallic corrosion. This corrosion occurs when two electrochemically dissimilar metals, say zinc and copper, they are metallically connected and exposed to a corrosive environment. Then what will happen, that less noble metal will act as anode and it will undergo corrosion, and more noble metal will act as cathode, and an electrochemical cell will be generated to cause this type of corrosion, which is called as galvanic corrosion. So here what happens is that zinc metal, which is less noble, this will act as anode, and this will be converted into zinc 2 plus ions, and electrons they will be produced, and then copper metal will act as anode, and electrons they will pass on to this, and an electrochemical cell will be completed, which will lead to the corrosion in such type of reaction conditions, and this type of corrosion is called as galvanic corrosion. Then there is galvanic series. It determines the nobility of the metals and semi-metals. So basically it means that tendency of a metal to undergo corrosion in a galvanic cell with respect to other metals, that is called as galvanic series. So we can say from here that platinum, gold, graphite, as we move from this to this, the extent of corrosion goes on increasing. So if we are having, say, zinc and lead, so zinc is more likely to be corroded in comparison to lead. So the extent of corrosion among the metals goes on increasing as we move from lower side to upper side. So this is the corroded end, that is here this will be most significantly acting as anode, and this will be most significantly acting as cathode. So such type of series is known as galvanic series. Then is concentration corrosion. Concentration cell corrosion, this occurs because of differences in the environment surrounding the metal. For example, say we are having this type of situation. Here the metal is dipped in a solution of some electrolyte. Say sodium chloride is the electrolyte and zinc metal is there. Now you can see this part of the metal is not dipped in the electrolyte. So that means here this is more oxygenated part of the metal and this is less oxygenated part of the metal. So here oxygen is more, here oxygen is less. So less oxygenated part will act as anode, more oxygenated part will act as cathode. So that means here zinc will change into zinc 2 plus ions and two electrons they will be formed. And these electrons, they in the presence of oxygen and moisture present at the surface of this metal will interact to produce hydroxide ions, and these hydroxide ion will interact with zinc ions formed at this place, and zinc hydroxide will be produced which will corrode the metal. So this is how the concentration corrosion takes place, and this is also called as service corrosion, gasket corrosion, deposit corrosion, because it is commonly occurring in localized areas where small volumes of stagnant solution exist. So this is present in many types of mechanical industries: sharp corners, spot welds, lap joint, fasteners, flanged fittings, couplings, threaded joints, tube sheet supports. In all these types of mechanical industry parts, this type of corrosion can take place, because there one part of the metal will have a different environment than the other part of the metal. So most common type of concentration cells, they are oxygen or metal ion cells. So here again, because of the different concentration of oxygen at different parts of the metal, this will lead to the formation of concentration corrosion. Then is pitting corrosion. Pitting corrosion is a randomly occurring, highly localized form of attack on a metal surface, characterized by the fact that depth of the penetration is much greater than the diameter of the area affected. You can see over here the depth is much more than the area of the surface of the metal. So such type a type of pit is formed due to this corrosion. That is why the name pitting corrosion. So this is one of the most destructive form of corrosion, which selectively attacks an area of the metal surface where there is a surface scratch or an emerging dislocation or a compositional heterogeneity which results in the form of a hole. Steel and galvanized steel pipes and storage tanks, they are susceptible to pitting corrosion by many potable waters. So here what happens is, here uh, this at that point where there is a, say, compositional heterogeneity, or there is a scratch or some dislocation there, this metal will act as anode, and on reaction with oxygen and water in the atmosphere, these electrons, they will produce hydroxide ions, and these hydroxide ions will interact with uh, Fe2 plus ion forms, and a pit will be generated due to corrosion. Then is stress corrosion. Stress corrosion cracking is an environmentally induced delayed failure, and it occurs when many alloys, they are subjected to static surface tensile stress, and they are exposed to certain corrosive environments. Then cracks, they are initiated and propagated by combined effect of a surface tensile stress and environment. And when this type of cracking occurs, then yield strength of the material is much less than the actual requirement. Then residual stresses, they are introduced due to core deformation and welding, heat treatment, machining and grinding, etc. And these types of cracks, they are generated due to this stress in the metal surface. Then this is a classical disastrous form of corrosion, and the failure may occur unexpectedly, and catastrophic nature of this severe form of corrosion attack has been repeatedly illustrated in many noteworthy failures. And most important examples which have been there for stress corrosion, they are one, swimming pool roof collapse in Switzerland in 1985. That was due to this stress corrosion, and the cracking of the roof took place because of stress corrosion, and there uh, 12 people, they were killed, and 19 people, they were injured because of this stress corrosion. Similarly, there is a very important crash of Boeing 747 in Netherlands in 1992, and that was also caused by this stress corrosion. And there also 43 people, they died due to crash of this plane, which was due to corrosion, pit corrosion and stress corrosion. Both these they caused in the engine of the Boeing 747, and so we can judge the severity of this type of corrosion. And then stress corrosion can be of many types. One is chloride stress corrosion. This is the most important form of stress corrosion, and generally this is seen in case of nuclear industry. Here what happens is intergranular corrosion occurs in stainless steel under tensile stress in the presence of oxygen, chloride ions and high temperature. So reason is the chromium carbide deposits along the grain boundaries that leave the metal open to corrosion, and this can be controlled by maintaining a low chloride ion and oxygen content in the environment, and the use of low carbon steels. So this kind of stress corrosion can be avoided. Then is caustic stress corrosion. This is also called as caustic embrittlement. This is very common form of stress cracking corrosion, and it occurs in mild steel at high temperatures under alkaline conditions, and generally found in steam boilers and heat transfer equipment. So here what happens is the water present in the steam boilers and other heat transfer equipments, this becomes alkaline due to the hydrolysis of sodium carbonate, So sodium carbonate interacts with the water to give us sodium hydroxide and carbon dioxide. And due to the presence of this sodium hydroxide, water becomes caustic and concentration increases as the water evaporates. Then this concentrated soda attacks the boilers by dissolving its iron as sodium ferroate. So this sodium ferroate, this is converted into uh, ferric oxide, and ultimately we will get sodium hydroxide, and embrittlement of uh, the this mild steel will take place. And this embrittlement can be removed by adding either sodium sulfate or lignins or sodium phosphate or tannins. If any of these is added, then this type of embrittlement can be removed, because these substances, they will not allow sodium carbonate to interact with water to form sodium hydroxide. Instead, they will form a complex which will remove this type of corrosion. Then is brass stress corrosion. Uh, so here, this takes place generally in presence of organic amines or ammonia. The reason for this type of cracking is formation of complexes by the brass components with bases, organic bases. So here we know in brass copper and zinc are there, and these copper and zinc present in brass, they react with ammonia to form these types of copper ammonium complexes and zinc ammonium complexes, and which leads to dissolution of brass, and hence formation of cracks takes place. And such type of crack formation is called as brass stress corrosion cracking. And this can be prevented by proper designing of the equipment with right materials, a reduction in stresses, the removal of critical environment species such as hydroxide, chlorides, and oxygen from time to time, and then avoiding stagnant areas and surfaces in heat exchangers where chloride and hydroxide might become concentrated. So we have seen in our homes that these types of brass corrosion takes place. Then is waterline corrosion. When water is stored in a metallic tank, it is observed that the metal below the waterline gets corroded. This is because water below the waterline, here the amount of oxygen will be less as compared to amount of oxygen present in the atmosphere. So because of that, the water below the water line will act as an anode, and metal above the water line, that because this is highly oxygenated, this will act as a cathode. So because of the presence of anode and cathode within this system, the corrosion will take place, and such a corrosion is called as waterline corrosion. So at anode, iron will change into Fe2 plus 2 electrons, they will be generated, and at cathode, water will give us H ions and OH ions, and these H ions, they will interact with oxygen and electrons produced at the anode, and we will get water, and overall this Fe2 plus ions, they will interact with the hydroxide ion formed, and rust will be formed from this type of corrosion, and such a corrosion is called as waterline corrosion. The next is passivity or passivation of metals or alloys. And this is defined as a relatively inactive state in which the metal or alloy displays a more noble behavior than thermodynamic conditions predict. Basically, passivity means that the reason why the matter does not corrode when it should. So we know that corrosion is a natural phenomenon, but we have seen some cases where the metal has not corroded whereas it should have been corroded. So this passivity we can say is a state in which metal or alloy exhibit much higher corrosion resistance than expected from its position in the electrochemical series. So uh, such a thing is called as passivity or passivation of metals. This the first correct account of passivation of iron that was given by Michael Faraday in 1836 when he reported the formation of an oxide layer on the surface of iron. The passivity is the result of formation of a highly protective but quite invisible thin film on the surface of metal, thus making it a noble metal. So this is the reason of passivity, that there is a very thin film, protective film is formed on the surface of the metal, and because of that the metal does not corrode at the rate at which it normally should. The most common example of this type is Delhi iron pillar, which is about 1600 years of age, but there is no sign of corrosion on this landmark structure. So we have seen this is the Delhi iron pillar, and because of passivation there is no corrosion that has been seen in this Delhi iron pillar. Then the film forming during passivation is insoluble, non-porous, and has a self-healing nature. So because of that, corrosion does not take place. And the common example of passive metals and alloys, they are titanium, aluminium, chromium, and other wide variety of stainless steel alloys containing chromium. And this is the order of passivity of different types of metals. Titanium is most passive, then aluminium, then chromium, beryllium, molybdenum, magnesium, nickel, copper, iron, and so on. So as we move down, passivity goes on decreasing. So this is the book which has been consulted for this reaction, Chemistry for Engineers by Harish Chopra and Anupama Parmar. In addition, some internet sources have also been used for this lecture. Thank you very much.